All right, let's pray. God, thank you for this time of sharing and impartation and empowerment. Thank you for the privilege of growing together. We thank you for continuing to move us further and further closer and actually move us in to the winner's circle. We want to be people who are stacking victories. And so we ask now that you bless our time of sharing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So today I want to revisit a topic because I think it is um, germane to where we are as we begin this year, and I want to add some things to it. But I want to ask two questions. One, what is your superpower? What is your superpower? And then the second question is, what is your winning formula? Um, I define superpower as a special or extraordinary ability that is considered greater than what's normal. Special, ordinary, uh, extraordinary ability that is greater than what is normal. Um, it's a special talent, a special skill, or special ability that is the key to your highest performance. So when I ask you what is your superpower, what are the special talents, what are the special skills that you have that are the key to your highest level of productivity and performance? One more time. Special talent, special skill, special ability that is key to your highest level of performance, productivity. That's your superpower. You bring that to everything that you do. You bring that to everything that you are a part of. Um, Athletes have their own superpower. Depending on your athlete, he or she will tell you, it's my speed, it's my quickness, it's my feel for the game, it is my vision, it is whatever it is that is the icing on the cake that kind of separates them from everybody else. The Shaquille, when Shaq was playing, he called himself the most dominant player because he was so big but so quick. So big but so quick, and being that strong and that big, but yet that quick was rare. It was his superpower. It was the thing that he leaned on for um, to set him apart. Um, if you look at Usain Bolt, his superpower was genetic in that he's so tall. And so people would run with him for the first 50 meters, and then those long strides, you couldn't do anything with it. It was the long strides you couldn't do. It was that thing that set him apart. Whatever the sport is, um, whatever the industry is, you hear people talk about, this is what I use in order for me to be what I'm supposed to be. And the interesting thing, why we don't call it a superpower for ourselves, is for you it comes so natural. It comes so natural. It's that thing that you wake up and roll out of bed and you got it. Now you may have done work to enhance it, develop it. It is. Um, yes, LeBron James has spent millions upon millions of dollars to work on his body and maintain it, but man, he's 6'9", 240 with guard quickness. You know, if 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 Kevin Durant, if anybody knows about, if Kevin Durant could put on 25 pounds of muscle, there would be no competition for him in the league at all period. If he could put on 25 pounds of muscle, unstoppable for anything. But he's the Slim Reaper. He's a thin guy, and you can push him off his block, and you can push him off. All of us have it. All of us have something. For some people, it is very, very intangible. It is for some, it's your discernment. You get to walk into the room and you get to, and you check it out, and that becomes a part of your personal strategy. That you see the games being played before they even try to reveal that they're whatever it is. For some people, it's discernment. For some people, it is your ability to move in and out of different rooms. You have such range that no room intimidates you, and you get to move in and out of every room you're in without, and especially for us, without code switching. Because some of us, in order to move in and out of rooms, we have to code switch. And so, but there are some people who are just very, very chameleon in an authentic way, if you can be an authentic chameleon. If you can be an authentic chameleon. But some people are just good at, and they're not fake and they're not pretentious, but they can just move in and out of space. But it is their superpower. Some people are just smart. They're just smarter than everybody else. That the average room that they walk into, they're just smarter. Give me a power that you have, a trait, a characteristic that you have that you've been able in a very integrous way to make it work for you. I will start to get the ball rolling. I'm a gifted, trained speaker. It works for me. It works. I was doing the invocation, and when I do invocations, I give a little devotion as well. I was doing the invocation for all the state of Florida supervisors of elections. So the supervisors of elections came together, and our Volusia County Supervisor of Election, Lisa Lewis, saw me do something at Civic League. Can you come do something? So I go do it. And I'm prayerful, all of that, but I'm just being me. I get a letter. She said, people came up to me and said they had chills when you spoke. It's just, it is what it is. It's a superpower for me. Now the problem is it's not made me any money. Yeah, that's my, it's not made me any money. I remember years ago, one of my best friends, John Gunn, said to me, he said, "You know what? You're too talented to be this broke." You're too talented to be this broke. As a matter of fact, we were talking about each other. He's like, "We too talented to be this broke." But it is something that I have. It's God-given and personally developed. Some people's superpower doesn't become what it's supposed to become because on one hand it's God-given, but they never personally develop it. Because the question of the day is it's twofold. What is your superpower and what is your winning formula? So now you've discovered your superpower. Now you've got to discover your winning formula in a way where you can still be your true self. Because it is frustrating to have to, at some point, to not be able to be your authentic self.
That sounds socially awkward.
Yeah. And that's a communication. That is a communication trap. And we're going to deal with this later in the year. That when you train yourself to communicate for affirmation, you start to seem socially awkward and you start to seem like you're actually less smart than you actually are.
Yes.
Okay? Because you're trying to figure out what's the answer I'm supposed to give them. I teach that, and I had in relationships that when a spouse has trained him or herself, and it happens more for men than women, because we communicate to stay out of trouble. We don't want no trouble. We don't want no trouble. And not that we've done anything, or so you ask us a question and we're trying to figure out the answer you want. And when you train yourself to do that beyond the line that you should, then you sound indecisive. You sound less smart than you are, because what they don't know is you're trying to figure out what to say rather than just saying what has come to your heart and mind. And so as males, married males, then we actually look worse to our spouses than we should, when what we really should says, this is what I think and this is what I feel, and I'm being sensitive, but I'm not trying to find the next line in the script. This is what I think and this is what I feel, and we can deal with the repercussions. But we want to go on with our day. So we don't take that risk. But that's a superpower. And now I've got to figure out what's the winning formula. Another one is there are people who are naturally strategic. They are naturally, they're walking in and it's like, okay, if we do this, we can do that. If we do this, we can do. They're just naturally strategic. They're never the bull in the china shop. They're just naturally, okay, this is going to link to this and this is going to link to that. And so let me move this way. There are another intangible would be, there are people who are just great with money. They're just better with money than other people, and so some of it is their training. Some of it is the household that they grew up in, what their parents passed down, or that type of thing. It is, I'm this way. Another superpower that is very intangible, but it has tangible results. Some people are just really, really hard workers. They're just really, really hard workers. And there are a lot of people who are not hard workers. That shy away from hard work. They're looking for the easy way out and the like. And some people are just naturally hard workers. When you grow up a certain way, people who grow up, my wife grew up on a farm. She grew up on a farm, and so when you have to do, and she's the only girl, so when you grew up on a farm, a 10, 20 acre farm, you're the only girl, you got brothers, it conditions you a certain way. It conditions you a certain way. So, in her makeup, she's more dude than female. She's more dude, and people think because, she's a news anchor and your perception of what a news anchor is, and this is pretty girl and this and that, nope. No, she's more dude in her makeup than she is female. There's nothing demure about her, but it's from growing up on the farm. You just got to get stuff done. It's going to be hard to be lazy on a farm. It's going to be hard to be lazy on the farm. So those are some intangibles that definitely give. Later in the presentation, but we'll talk about it now. I talk about the fact that superpowers have to be discovered. And sometimes the way you discover them is that other people notice them in you. You know, there is a discovery because it's not something that you have tapped into yourself. It's, God bless you, it's something that other people, you know, you can discover them by, you know, gifts inventories, you know, skill finders, you know, and the like. But also one of the ways to discover them as well is to talk to your older family members in this sense. What's some of the stuff that just runs through our family? You know, one of my friends, one of her superpowers is her entrepreneurial spirit. And as she talked to her father, and he talked about her grandfather, and talked to her mother, and discovered that the whole entrepreneurial spirit has been passed down generationally in their families. And so what we think, you know, just comes natural for our generation, in many cases, it's something that we've been familial connected to. You know, this kind of, and I don't think we concentrate on that enough. You know, we concentrate a lot on generational curses and the stuff that I got to avoid because of my family connection. But we don't talk enough about the stuff that, the positive and the blessings, which is one of the reasons, you know, on First Fridays, we're praying for families on First Fridays, which one of the reasons that we've got to stop allowing our decisions to dilute our families. Because if my family is all over the place, then it's hard to have that conversation. So for the person who has no contact or no information about a whole side of his or her genetic and spiritual and his psychological and emotional makeup, even your physical health history. A lot of people don't know what's coming down the pike in their physical health because they don't know what they're predisposed to because they got a whole side of their family they don't even know. And it is just like that. What was the movie? It's been a while. Denzel Washington, and the guy he's in the service. He's comes from an abusive family. He has to go back and find his family. Antoine Fisher, you know. And so if you remember toward the end of Antoine Fisher, when they have this family gathering, for him to come to know uncles and aunts and this and that is so critical because sometimes your superpower has been passed on by your heritage. Your heritage. It is, you know, some people are just fast on their feet. They're quick thinkers. You know, some people are great evaluators of people. You know, Zanef talked about, you know, the being observant, being observant. I am a very focused person, and I'm very observant on what I'm focused on. Everything else, I don't know what happens. I have no idea what happened. We have a remote partner who is a former police officer, you know, for years. She's a police officer for years. And her running joke with me for 20 years is, you really should be anywhere by yourself. Because you don't notice anything about your surroundings, what's going on, nothing. She's like, you are a danger to yourself, you know, because whatever I'm focused on, It's a great observation. What I'm not, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. You know, I had to slow myself down because earlier in my ministry, people would say, "You walked by me and didn't speak." And I would say, "I didn't even see you." And they were like, "You looked straight at me." And I'm like, "I didn't see you." You know, because I may have, my brain drives my eyes. And so if I'm thinking about something else while I cross your path, it's quite possible I didn't see you. So I had to intentionally get better at noticing and stopping and the like, because part of me, I'm not observant. You know, my kid's mom said, "You know, you've never had any discernment. You just never had any, you know, that's just not your strength." You know, and she's right. And I don't care. That's, you know, because a lot of people love people watching and all of that. I don't care. I don't care. And that's part of my strength, but also a part of my weakness the older I get. The older I get, the less I care about. It's like, I really don't care. You know, I really. Now, the problem with that is that it makes me more accommodating than I should be. And what I've learned is that if you are consistently over accommodating, then if one day you decide to have an opinion and care, then like, what's wrong with you? And we just used to you following along, you know, that kind of thing. And so, but it's very, very important. Those are things that are intangible. Some people have very, very tangible things. There are people who are just automatically great with math. That's just the way their brains work. You know, my brain does not work like that. I do words. I don't do numbers. You know, I do words. They know when we start talking about, you know, budgets and financial reports, I got about 30 minutes worth of bandwidth. And then we're gonna have to end this meeting and do it again. Because after about 30 minutes of numbers, I'm out. I check out. I check out. So it is important. Now, one thing is to know, and what I want you to do is each of you have at least two. I want you to think about what those two are and how you're putting them to work. And does your life right now give you the space to actually put them to work? And sometimes your superpower God will use it in the kingdom. Sometimes he'll let you use it in your own personal life. So that's one half of it. That's one half of it, those individual powers. The next half of it is, what's your winning formula? I want to ask this question. Identify an area in your life that you presently win on a consistent basis. You don't win every now and then. You pretty much win on a consistent basis. You stacking victories in that area. And as I've shared with you all in previous classes, anybody who wins consistently knows why. You don't win consistently on accident. Nobody wins consistently. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs could not have done what they've done the last 5 years without a formula. Okay? What the Eagles did was took their formula away from them last week. You know, they figured out, the only other time he's lost the Super Bowl is when the pass rush gave him no time. That's how Tampa Bay beat them. That's how Tampa Bay beat them a couple years ago. And so Philadelphia had a team that could have a solid pass rush without blitzing. If you can rush 4 and get to the quarterback, then that means you leave everybody else to guard the receivers. If you have to blitz Patrick Mahomes, he's going to pick you apart. So they had what they needed. Sometimes you can have the formula, but not the personnel. Okay? You got the formula, but not the personnel. It'll be interesting to see, who's able to come now and execute their formula. There comes a time when you have to change your formula because everybody else, 5 years ago, Golden State Warriors had the winning formula. We've got two of the best shooters on planet Earth. We've got a hybrid forward who can execute the offense that leaves our shooters open. We're going to play small ball. It worked for like 4 or 5 years. Then everybody else decided to get taller. Oh no, we're not going to play small ball. We're going to make you play big boy ball. And now they struggle because you're older. It's another whole thing. Your formula has to change when your abilities change. And so people who win on a consistent basis have a formula. The best investors, they're not just picking stocks out the sky. They have a formula. People who win on a consistent basis have a formula. And they've got the personnel to match the formula. God has given us, for this church, God has given us a formula that works. He's given us a formula that works. What I'm working to do now is to make sure that I'm less and less a part of that formula, so that the formula works without me. We have a formula. It works for us. It is who we are. So in your life, let me ask a question, and where are you winning on a consistent basis? And do you have any idea what that formula is? Your winning formula is not necessarily something you sit down and you plan. Sometimes you do. Sometimes it is what you've been able to draw from. Okay, what are we doing? What makes this work? And then you're able to quantify it and then package it to use it. So this is what's working. So now let's put language to it, and let's put another level of commitment to it. And so it is because sometimes it's discovery. It is discovery, which is something for me wasn't a part of my formula years ago, and it is now. I was very propositional. This is the proposition, and we work down. Okay, this is the rule, or this is the law, or this is and then we work down. And then I had to discover that sometimes it's not deductive. And what happened was working with teenagers for so many years, where I had to flip the cone because, back in the 90s and late 90s, early 2000s, I discovered real quick that teens weren't deductive. They were inductive. So I had to flip the cone, that you don't start with a standard. You start with a story and lead them to your standard. And so it is because they don't like, it's you can't say to them, you need 4. But if you can get them to value 2 + 2, then it gets to the 4. Oh, so, oh, okay, I get it, I get it. So it is, and what I think we have to do is in our mental, physical, spiritual, social, and in our family, we have to find those winning formulas. So what works for you mentally? What's your formula for being at your best mentally? Okay, I have to get this amount of sleep. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do that. You know, don't catch me when I'm hungry. Whatever it is, what's that mental formula? Being being an introvert like I am with an extrovert's life. And I had to figure out, okay, well, what's going to keep me straight? And then I have to know my limits. Okay. So I get to a point where I'm done being public. I have nothing left to give. And I have to go be somewhere by myself for 30 minutes to recharge. Because as they say, for the extrovert, being around people energizes them. For the introvert, being around people all the time drains them. It drains them. So I have to go be by myself. That's one of the things I wish I lived closer, but the 40-minute commute home helps me. There's nobody in the car but me. The 40-minute commute here, there's nobody in the car but me, and I can just center myself, regroup. That's a winning formula for me. That is, and the people who are in your space, they have to know what your formula is, so that the running joke in Hope Fellowship right now is, at least among the staff, is in Leadership Academy. Pastor Cotton talked about, when they get to the office, they check in on everybody and all of that. And so I come to work the next day and I hear, when Pastor Cotton was saying that, they was like, they don't know our pastor. They don't know. And so because the way our building is set up, now that I'm doing work out of my office and everybody else is over here, so I can be here an hour, before I come over and greet people. And all they know is his car out there. His car is out there. And so even, when I walked in this morning, I said, good day, everybody, good day. And so my mother even said, oh, you must have heard about Pastor Cotton's presentation. And I'm like, no, because I actually been in my office for 40 minutes. And so when your team knows that it's just you, it's not something you need to switch, change, or something, but it's just who you are. What's your winning formula mentally? What's the winning formula for your family? This is how our marriage wins. This is how, my relationship with my children, whatever it is, this is how we win. This is how we win. And obviously in your relationships, the winning formula, you have to have a winning team. Because there are people who won't cooperate with the formula. So if one of your core values is quick to forgive, that formula doesn't work with a person who holds grudges. It's like, no, I ain't over it yet. I'm not over it yet. I saw that video where the couple was fighting with gospel songs. So they were, You seen that? You know, they keep allegedly changing the station to say whatever they want to say. You know, so one hits the radio and is truth is I'm tired. I'm sure it's off. And then the wife hits it and it's some other gospel song and they're going back and forth, you know, with the songs and the like. So it is to have a winning formula relationally, you have to have the people who are willing to work with you. And that's why I try to tell people in their dating process, make sure that people have the same core values that you have. You know, make sure, because most couples, their frustration is not they don't love each other. Sometimes their frustration is that they don't do life well together. And you got to be able to do life well together. You know, you got to be able to rock with each other well. And so it is critical. It is critical. Family, mental, physical. What works for you? What's your winning formula physically? Okay. If I'm not a workoutaholic. You know, I don't get excited about the next rep. You know, that doesn't drive me. But the demand on my mind and my spirit and my schedule requires my body to be in a little bit of shape. Because if I don't work out, then whatever the physical thing, the anatomical things that happens, I don't have what I need to keep up with my schedule. I don't have what I need to think with a clear mind. I don't have what I need. And so you have to know what works for you. I loved the couple years ago, there was somebody did this whole body appreciation commercial, and they showed women of all different sizes, and all of them were in shape. Okay, and they were trying to throw in the message that skinny is not necessarily in shape. You know, and they're all different kinds of body types. A former staff member years ago, you know, and she was right. I was thin and she was thin, and so we were doing some work, and she said to me, she said, "Bishop, I'm gonna tell you like my dad used to tell me." I said, "What?" "Don't mess around and get skinny fat." You know, it's skinny people who are actually fat for them. But in comparison to everybody else, they're still skinny. But they're not where they're supposed to be. For them, they're actually fat. She's like, don't get skinny fat. You know, don't get skinny fat. You know, so it's what's the winning formula? For me, it takes a tremendous amount of effort or a high stress level for me to work out at night. I'm either real stressed out or this is a good day for dedication, because I really, my makeup is I really prefer to work out in the mornings. And you can't tell people, you can't try to project your winning formula on somebody else. They may have discipline. You know, I know for me, you know, it's kind of what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. I know for me, if I skip more than one day, that second day can turn into 3 weeks. So I know I have to, at the very least, every other day. do something. It may not be the extent that, because I got off track last week and I'm like, okay, so I ended up on the Peloton Sunday night, exhausted, on Sunday night. But I knew, because I knew I'd worked out Friday. I knew if I didn't get back on, I knew this week was going to be shot. Because I got a one day, that's all I can do. Some other people, and you can't let people help you out of your formula. Oh, don't worry about it. You'll get back to it. It ain't no problem. And then they cost you a month listening to them. So you have to know what your winning formula is and have and support that. If you learn what your superpowers are, and if you develop your winning formulas, then your life will not be circumstantial. You will be able to maneuver and navigate regardless of the circumstances. When it comes to organizational leadership, I remember two examples. One, I remember listening to a leadership podcast years ago, and Andy Stanley said that when we started this church, I didn't build a team for church. I built the team for the effect that we wanted to have on the kingdom. He says, my team is so good. He says, I made sure that we had all of the functions that I wanted filled. He said, my team is so good. You can put us in any industry and give us 6 months to go through the learning curve, and we're going to succeed. Because we're just built that way. I remember years ago when I was talking to John Hanna, and he was like, he said, when I built our arts ministry, he says, I like going downtown to see shows in Chicago. And he says, I wanted an arts ministry that I could take downtown. So you don't just get to decide to be on the dance ministry. You don't get to just decide to be on the praise team. You don't get to, he says, I wanted art in our church that I could take downtown. So he ended up, back then, this was maybe 10 years ago, he says, oh, no, I hired our dance leader, has a master's in dance, he says, I knew what level, and the level of your organization is going to be contingent upon the level of your leader. So if I knew I wanted this caliber of arts ministry, I had to hire this caliber of person. And so you find your winning formula, you find out what works for you, and then you just make it work for you. Thoughts, questions? We are right at our time. Thoughts, comments? Okay. We're going to do, I think it's important later on in the year, and I think this will be important for a lot of the younger people. We're going to do a once a month kind of group. I call it Dreams, Visions, and Plans. And so it will be a sharing group. And so we will look at and say, okay, what's your dream and vision and plan for this year? Let's make sure that we'll bring different speakers to that group. And, so people who are trying to get their dreams off the ground can have a place of resources and a place of sharing and the like. And so we're going to be putting that together as well, because we want to win. We want to win. We want to win, more than conqueror. That's winning. That's what scripture say, you're more than a conqueror. Okay, then I'm supposed to be winning. And I'm supposed to be winning on a consistent basis. And so that's what we want to try to do. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you so very much. And have a powerful day. I love y'all lots.